What's going on, everyone? Darkside Phil here, and welcome to another edition of Ask the King, the monthly series where I answer your fan mail questions, which you can either submit on my forums on thekingofhate.com. There is a thread there called Ask the King. I've already got one up for next month's episode. Or the day of, meaning today, on my Twitter account, @TheyCallMeDSP. I also posted up that I was accepting questions, and you had the chance to submit the questions there. I am still very slightly under the weather with allergies. They're almost completely gone, which I'm psyched about. But I may be clearing my throat or such, coughing, whatever, during this series of videos. And as you know, this is usually a longer series, maybe a two-parter, probably will be a two-parter. That being said, really good questions this month. And I have to say, over the past couple of months, the questions have actually seemed to be getting better and better. I think that the fact that I'm only doing it once a month, the fact that I mention it a couple times a month, and there seem to be pertinent things that happen over the course of the month, really add to that. And you're going to see that, I think, in today's questions. So let's get right to it. Lots of questions from the forums, and I think I also grabbed a handful from Twitter this time around. Okay, first question is, Phil, seeing when you are going to be doing this episode, Wrestlemania 28 is that coming Sunday. That is correct. Wrestlemania 28 is Sunday coming up. So what are your thoughts on the match lineup, and what are your predictions of the match results? And that's from Dario. He's actually a longtime forum user. Let me put it this way. I don't want to get into it right now because a lot of people don't necessarily watch Ask the King to hear about specific wrestling stuff. You know what I mean? But as a lot of people know, some people might not know, so it's worth mentioning. Every Saturday, or I try to do it every Saturday, it's definitely not every Saturday, but on Saturdays I film a wrestling commentary show called Smart Guys. It's a long time running show. It's almost, I believe as of October, it'll be 2 years running, so we're about a year and a half into it right now. And it's myself and John Rambo, we both do this, and it actually is posted over on John Rambo's channel on YouTube, John Rambo Presents. So we'll be doing a big WrestleMania show this Saturday. We'll be talking about all the matches that are going to be on the WrestleMania card, what we think about it, and we're also going to be simulating all of those matches in WWE 12, the video game. So on Saturday, check out John Rambo's channel for the wrestling commentary, where I'll answer this question specifically, but then also check out DSPGaming, my gaming channel, where you can see simulated matches of what's going to go on WrestleMania. So I'm going to save all that for Saturday. It's going to be a big wrestling-packed day. Okay? Next question. Hey Phil, I'm not sure how much you've played of it so far, but what are your current thoughts on Resident Evil Revelations? Will you be doing a Hateful Truth on it? And that's from Zigwitch. Great question. And I have some really cool news regarding this. I have finally kind of beaten my backlog of handheld games. Now, you might be saying, what the hell is he talking about? Basically, here's what happens, and just to give you a typical day. I wake up, I do whatever, personal stuff I need to do. I start filming for YouTube, and then I'll get some food, maybe I'll film some more, and then for a couple hours every night before I go to sleep, I relax. And whether I'm, just watching TV, or maybe I'm watching a movie, I'm just relaxing, usually on my couch, and I actually play handheld games. And I've been doing this for a while now, several months. Actually almost about a year now that I think about it. And it occurred to me several months ago, I was like, why the hell am I playing these games and not really talking about them to anyone? Obviously I can't play through footage of a handheld, but I could talk about the games. And so I've actually reviewed a couple of the handheld games that I've played recently, including Dragon Hunter Alliance on the PS Vita and Golden Sun Dark Dawn for the Nintendo DS. Right now I'm actually very close to finishing Super Mario Bros. 3D Land for the Nintendo 3DS. I've got some interesting things to say about this game. And I'm actually, right now, the only reason I haven't beaten it is because I'm going for the super secret ending where you have to beat every single stage with both Mario and Luigi. And that's going to take me probably a day or two to get to. So once I do that, I'll be reviewing that here on DSPGaming. I'll be doing a Hateful Truth of that game, which I'm sure will be controversial, as usual, because it's my first review of a mainstream Mario game. But in regards to Resident Evil Revelations, Zigwitch is correct. I bought it several months ago. Have not had a chance to play it yet, but it's on my agenda. Right now I've got Resident Evil Revelations. I've got Uncharted Golden Abyss. I've got that Wipeout game for PS Vita. I've got Kid Icarus Uprising, which I just purchased. So I've got 4 pretty heavy hitting games there to play on the handhelds, and I have to decide after I beat Mario 3D Land and review it which one I want to play next. But eventually I will be doing Resident Evil Revelations, and I will definitely be giving everyone my opinions on it. Okay? Up next, hey Phil, I know that most of the past few months you've been busy with new games, Project 7, conventions, etc. But I and many other fans have been wondering when you will hold another Fan Appreciation Week, and that's from the Infected Hunter. By the way, Infected Hunter was not the only person to ask that. There's actually several questions I'll mention when a lot of people asked about it. It's a common question. If you don't even know what he's talking about, in the past couple of years, whenever I have some downtime, meaning I might have a particular week when I have no real games to play, nothing on the agenda, nothing that's really fan requested, I'll do a Fan Appreciation Day or week, which means I'll pick popular games at the time and play multiplayer with the fans. Now in the past I've done Assassin's Creed, Call of Duty, Dead Space, Street Fighter, just to name a few. I've done many different games in these Fan Appreciation Weeks. Well, it just so happens that in the past, I don't know, 6 months, there really has been no time to do this. There have been non-stop releases, and when there aren't non-stop releases, I have a backlog. Perfect example is this week. This week there were no major releases for the first time in 2 months, but I had a backlog of games to play. So I played Blades of Time. Right now I'm playing Silent Hill 2 HD. There's other games to play after that. So really right now there's no time to do a Fan Appreciation. Fan Appreciation I really like to do when, number one, when there's a really popular multiplayer game that came out and people really want to play it badly, and number two, when there's just nothing going on. It's downtime and it's a perfect filler for that period of time. And I just haven't had downtime. It's not to say that, again, that I won't be doing Fan Appreciation. There's possibilities, especially in the next coming months. I saw April there's a lot of slow times, and typically the summer is a historically slow time. So I may still be doing it, but right now, I don't have time to do it. And in addition to that, really, what multiplayer game recently has come out that people are like dying to play? You know what I mean? There haven't been a lot. And I did do Twisted Metal Fan Appreciation, actually. When Twisted Metal came out, I played with the fans. I set up rooms. Problem is, the lobby system in Twisted Metal barely works, so it didn't really work that well. So unfortunately, in that case, I tried it and it didn't work, and I apologize for that. But again, if there is downtime coming up, I'll consider it. Unfortunately, there just hasn't been a lot recently. Okay? Next question. Hi Phil, looking at your videos of UFC Undisputed 3, I can see that you actually have a lot of UFC fans. I'm one of them, and I was wondering if you could start watching UFC pay-per-views and live events again, and if you can make series like similar to Smart Guys, funny that I mentioned Smart Guys already, in which you would review such UFC events. Since you have a large group of UFC fans, I think this would make sense. Thank you, and that's from Rayzone. Here's my feelings on this. Pro wrestling has been something that's been around my entire life. I was a fan when I was a kid. I was kind of fell out of it when I was a teenager, but then when I went back to college, when I went to college, I started watching it again for whatever reason, and so I'm kind of into it. Even though I don't necessarily enjoy the product all the time, I still enjoy following it as a fan, as a long-time fan, and being able to do a commentary show like Smart Guys. And I enjoy that John Rambo also has a similar passion. UFC, I actually watched UFC when it first started in the 1990s, when it was brutal, way before there were weight classes, all these rules. It was like a kickboxer versus a sumo wrestler, and the kickboxer would run across and kick the fucking sumo wrestler in the face and knock out all of his teeth, and it was gory. Whoa, okay? And then I kind of saw it evolve over the years into what it is today, a more professional sport, something that's actually taken fairly seriously by lots of fans. Here's the bottom line. I would love to be a fan of a lot of stuff. I would love to be a fan of American football. I would love to be a fan of UFC. I would love to be a fan of many different competitive things. I just don't have time to follow it. And especially what's going on with UFC now, you've got The Ultimate Fighter. You've got the weekly shows that they have on regular TV. You've got the pay-per-views that happen frequently. You've got all this stuff going on. Unfortunately, it's like that's a hobby that if someone has a lot of time, they can follow. You know what I mean? Just like wrestling. I admit, every week I watch 1 to 2, if not more, wrestling shows, plus the pay-per-views, plus I do a commentary show. But if I'm going to follow wrestling, I don't have time to follow UFC, I don't have time to follow American football, I don't have time to follow everything. You know what I mean? And with a lot of the things that I've been involved in recently, Project 7 and other projects and things going on, a lot of my time that I used to have that used to be considered free time is being taken up. So let me put it this way. It's absolutely out of the question that I will never follow, I'll never be following UFC. It's not out of the question that I'll follow it. But at this point in time, I see myself busy with a lot of other stuff. And being that I already have the Smart Guys show where I've been a long-standing fan of wrestling, I think it makes more sense to follow that and do a commentary show on that. In the future, things may change, but as of right now, I'm only going to be doing it for wrestling. Okay? Up next. Dear Phil, this is a good question. I actually enjoyed this question. Dear Phil, how do you feel about free-to-play games? At this point, it's kind of hard to deny that this payment model, either by using microtransactions or a tiered subscription system, is becoming more commonplace. Practically every single MMO that isn't World of Warcraft has adopted a free-to-play model, and the model is even starting to appear in standard buy-to-own games, like Team Fortress 2 or to an extent Crimson Alliance. Do you think this is going to be the future of games, or simply a fad that will die out like a bad trading card game? And that's from Fly666Monkey, another longtime fan and forum user. And it's a great question. And I've seen this a lot more. And in fact, I guess I can kind of talk a little bit about it here. Next week, just similarly, if you remember about a month ago, I had an opportunity to preview a game. Excuse me, that was disgusting. Now here's another one. I had an opportunity through Machinima, because I am a Machinima partner, to preview a game called Nexus over Xbox Live, and I was actually able to give out a couple copies of that game to my fans. Well, I'm actually going to be given the opportunity to preview an advanced game. It's the newest game in the line of Blacklight games. Now, if you remember, a couple years ago, there was Blacklight Tango Down. And a lot of people liked that game and wanted me to play it. I just never had a chance to do it. Well, the newest iteration of the Blacklight series is actually going to be a free-to-play game exclusively on the PC. And Machinima is going to give me an advanced copy of the game next week to try out. And then on Wednesday of next week, I'm going to be releasing some videos of this game so people see what it is, what it's like. And you're going to have the opportunity to get the game for free as well. There's going to actually be a link right in the video that if you want to go check out the game, you just click there, you can get it on your PC, and you can play it for free. Now, I'm sure, again, to be honest, I don't know, because I don't know much about the game. I haven't played it yet. I'm sure there's going to be an opportunity for this company to make money at some point, whether it's if you want to buy better weapons, if you want to buy accessories. And to FlyMonkey's point, there are many games that are doing this model. You get the actual game for free, but then if you want to add to the game, you have to spend some money. And it's completely optional. You don't need to. It'll obviously enhance your experience. MMOs, which are massively multiplayer online games, typically RPGs, role-playing games, have almost completely, except for World of Warcraft, shifted to this model. When these games first launched, they were all subscription-based, meaning pay $5, $10 a month and you can play these games. Well, they've now found out that most people don't want to do a subscription-based system. That doesn't make sense. They just want to buy a game and play the goddamn game. So what they're doing now is they let you play the game for free, but then if you actually want to advance past a certain level, so you play it to level 20, you can stay at level 20 forever, which lots of people do, but if you want to have your character get higher level, you have to pay. Or possibly the game's completely free, there's no level cap like that, but if you want to get some of the best items in the game, some cool additions to the game, you have to spend money, and it makes sense. An optional choice. You try the game out, if you like it enough, then you spend the money. Not, oh, I right from the get-go start fucking paying a subscription and then decide whether or not I want to continue paying this subscription. That doesn't really make much sense. And honestly, it really didn't make much sense for those MMOs. I think it was just an experiment that a lot of these companies were trying, and people were trying MMOs for the first time. They were adopting that model, but now it's outdated and it's not really sustainable anymore, especially with the way the economy is in several parts of the world. People don't have a lot of money. How can I continuously spend that amount of money to play the game? It doesn't make sense. Do I see all video games adopting this model? Absolutely not. There are always going to be games where the budget, the production budget, things like that are huge, and there's no way that they could just give you the game for free and hope that later on you're going to pay for it. I think that what will happen is for these big budget games, these blockbusters, you'll have demos like we have right now. Mass Effect 3 had a demo, Assassin's Creed has a demo. All these games have demos that you can try out, and then if you like the game, you go buy the retail game. But I think that there definitely is an increasing marketplace for these free-to-play games. I think that the model works, especially for a game maybe like Blacklight, where, all right, maybe I heard about Blacklight Tango Down. I never really played it. I want to try this out and see if it's really a good game, and then later on I'll make the decision whether or not I want to continue to play it and jump money into it if I feel that it's a good enough game. I think that those kind of games that don't have the mainstream coverage, the media coverage, the ability to advertise and say, hey, look, it's Mass Effect 3, you know what I mean? Those are the games that are going to benefit from the free-to-play model, and I definitely see it increasingly becoming a model that's used more by especially more independent developers in the future. So I guess we'll see what happens with that. Alright, next question. Well, son of a bitch, Phil. I've tried month after month to get at least one question, which are good, decent questions, answered, and yet you still haven't picked one for Ask the King. What's even worse, you don't even pick decent questions like mine, but you pick some retarded questions like Sonic sex questions. So my question is this: why the hell do you do this to your fans? And that question is from Dank. Well, Dank, it's like this. I absolutely hate all of my fans. I hate you. I specifically, every single one, skip your specific questions just to piss you off, and neener, fuck you. Okay, obviously that's not the case. I mean, let's really put this in perspective. Ask the King, how does it work? I ask my fans to submit questions on the forums, in a thread, for one monthly episode. And usually, I get a giant group of questions at the beginning of the month, right when this episode airs, and everyone's like, oh shit, let me submit questions for next month's episode. And then typically, like the week before, I'll mention that Ask the King's coming up in a channel update or the week in preview, and people run to the forums and post up questions again. And then, of course, there's Twitter, and every month, historically, when I post up on Twitter that I'm looking for questions, within an hour's time period, I get about 100 questions on Twitter. So you're talking, I get anywhere from 200 to, I think the most I ever got was like over 500 questions in a month. And I have to review them all within an hour or two in one day, okay? So, I'll be honest, sometimes I probably just miss a question. I don't read it. I try to read every question actively, okay? But what you have to understand is, number one, I have a limited amount of time. I usually spend about an hour each month with, two 30-minute episodes of Ask the King. And I have to pick and choose the questions I'm going to answer. What I try to do is I try to pick the questions that are the most pertinent to what's going on at the time, to what I also feel I can give an entertaining and informed answer on. There are a lot of questions, I'll be honest, people ask me about stuff, and I'm just not informed on the subject. Why am I going to talk out of my ass about a subject that I really don't know a lot about or I don't have a feeling about? It doesn't make sense. And there actually have been some questions on Ask the King where I wasn't informed, and I answered the question based off of the phrasing of the question, and then come to find out the person who asked the question wasn't informed properly, had misinformation, and then I ended up looking stupid. I mean, I can't tell you how much hate I got about the questions I answered about Minecraft when I was completely off base or incorrect or misinformed, and then I had rabid fans jumping down my throat. How dare you say that about Minecraft? So, I have to, over time, by the way, I'm getting better at it, over time, picking the right questions, but I have to, number one, pick questions that I'm informed on, number two, do it in a very short time period, and number three, pick questions that I can give interesting and entertaining answers on. So, I'm sure there are fans who probably submit questions every month, and I haven't answered them, and I apologize for that. I can't answer every single question. I do make an active effort to answer the questions that I feel I can answer in an intelligent, informed, entertaining manner. And Dank, I'm sure that you're happy that I finally answered your question. Too bad it wasn't an actual interesting question that I had an answer about, about something in the gaming world, but oh well, at least I answered your question. Okay, next question. Dear Phil, as you may or may not know, a group of people on your forums have decided to do a King of Hate podcast every week. So far, we plan on covering things such as forum news, gaming news, some real-life topics, and general news regarding DSP and company. What are your thoughts on this, and do you plan on supporting it? Lots of love from Darkman. First of all, I think it's awesome that forum members, my fans in general, just people part of the DSP community, you know what I mean? First of all, feel that they have a community. That's awesome that people kind of have a group of fans based around my content on YouTube and elsewhere, and they feel that they can mingle with each other, they can network with each other. I support fan-based projects, I do. there haven't really been a heck of a lot outside of things going on the forums. There have been things that have been attempted, like Steam groups. There is a Dark Side Phil Steam group, by the way. You can find more about that on my forums if you want to check that out. At one point, I had a Team Fortress 2 server. Unfortunately, I had no time to play on it, and I ended up shutting it down because since I was never on it, people stopped playing on it. So there are these cool initiatives that get started up. Now, I had no idea there was a King of Hate podcast. I really didn't. I had not a clue that this thing existed, and then I just noticed yesterday on my forums at thekingofhate.com, it was posted up as like an announcement on the forums, and for the first time I took a look at it. And I clicked on it. I listened to just a little bit. As you know, I'm very busy, with what I'm doing. I don't have time to, unfortunately, listen to a several hour-long podcast, but it seems like it's an interesting start. I think the guys who are on this podcast are learning a lot about the podcast the more that they do it. If you have, a few hours to burn and you just want to see what's going on with some of the DSP community and fans, go check out the podcast. So like I said, right now, if you go to thekingofhate.com, right there on the forums, right there, it shows you the YouTube channel they've created for it, and there's 4 episodes that have been created so far. I definitely think that the show will probably get better in time. There obviously are growing pains. I think the first couple episodes, whoever, I'm not sure who was like the centric person organizing it, but I think there were some problems with mics and echoing and such. And obviously, the best way to do a podcast, you need to have a headset. You can't have your speakers going. And I think some of the guys have their speakers playing with a microphone rather than a headset, and because of that you can hear the echoing and stuff. But I think over time, if they continue to do this show, it'll get better, just like everything. Let's face it, when I first started doing stuff on YouTube and on the internet, it wasn't great, okay? Most of the time it's still not great, but I think that it's cool that they have this initiative. Like I said, unfortunately I have not had time to listen to the full shows, but it's always cool to bring some attention to it, so if you're interested, go check that out, okay? Running out of time for part 1 here. Got about 5 minutes left, so let's get through another couple questions. Next question. Hi, Phil. It goes without saying that your videos are inspiring to all your fans and that you have basically created the commentary playthrough video. Since you started doing it, many other people have decided to do the same thing as you, meaning live action game commentaries for playthroughs. My question is this. What top 3 tips could you give inspiring Let's Players to help them do these kinds of videos? I feel that this would help them, coming from a man with such experience, such as yourself. Keep up the great work, and that's from P-Dog, who's again another longtime fan, another longtime forum user. I don't know if I can think of 3, I can definitely think of 2. And the first would be, if you really want to be successful, you have to find something that's unique. And I think that when I started doing this stuff way back when, what was it, 2008, the fact that I was using a camera to do it, not direct capture, the fact that I was giving live commentary and off-the-fly, on-the-fly improv stuff. It wasn't stuff that I'd scripted. It wasn't me doing a high-level expert run of a game or a montage of, my best moments. It was just me playing a game and failing. I think that really captured an audience. And then, subsequently, when I started playing Street Fighter 4, being that I had previously been a Street Fighter pro, per se, and I was taking that perspective and bringing it into that game, and then of course I was hating on the people who were playing online, who were abusing lag, who were doing that kind of stuff. I think a lot of people loved that perspective. They were like, that's some of the most original stuff they've ever seen. Definitely from the fighting game community. So definitely do something, you have to try to do something unique. And it's hard now because it seems like since then, everyone's done it, you know what I mean? Everyone's taken their own shot at it. Everyone does it different ways, and so it's hard to say I'm doing it for the first time. I guess I was just lucky to be one of these innovators during a time when this was becoming way more mainstream on the internet. What I would also say is, whatever you're doing, have fun doing it. People are going to notice if you're doing it and you're not having fun, you're doing it just for the sake of doing it to get popularity or make money. They will see through phoniness. So whatever you're doing, you have to be enjoying it. And so I definitely recommend, if you're going to start off, maybe play some of your favorite games. Or maybe play a game that you know is going to have some hilarious moments or problems that are going to be entertaining to your viewer. And don't get frustrated. That's the other thing. A lot of people, they do it, they make videos, whether it's playthroughs or not, they make videos for YouTube. they enjoyed the whole experience, and then the videos of whatever reason don't catch on. Well, the bottom line is this: if you enjoyed what you were doing when you were doing it, it doesn't even matter if it ever catches on. You know what I mean? Who cares if only 20 people ever watched the video? If you had a blast making the video, then you fucking had fun. You didn't waste your own time. Oh, and so I guess this is going to be the last question that I answer in this part. So that's my advice. Okay, try to do something unique. Try to have fun doing what you're doing, because people will see that you have fun doing it, and be genuine, and don't be phony, and you know what I mean. Try to do it just for the sake of doing it, and don't get frustrated if it doesn't catch on, because if you enjoyed what you were doing, then it doesn't matter. It wasn't a waste of time to begin with. And in my case, I was enjoying what I was doing. I was being honest, and I was doing entertaining stuff that other people weren't doing, and it caught on. So maybe yours will catch on too. Okay? Alright, so that's it for part 1 of Ask the King. I'll be back with part 2, more forum questions and some Twitter questions. So stay tuned, and I'll be right back.